There is a reason TOSIN ABASI's guitar playing can feel almost impossible to understand at first. The notes move quickly, the rhythms shift unexpectedly, and the instrument seems to become something much larger than a traditional guitar. But behind that extraordinary sound is a story that goes deeper than technical ability. What does it actually take to create a style that seems to exist outside the normal rules of guitar playing? And what happens when an artist spends years pushing an instrument into territory where very few musicians have gone before? The lesser-known side of TOSIN ABASI's journey isn't about scandal or controversy. It is about pressure, experimentation, expectations, and the difficult process of becoming completely original. To understand that story, we have to go back to the beginning, before Abasi became one of modern guitar's most recognizable innovators. TOSIN ABASI grew up developing a fascination with the guitar, but his approach was never limited to simply mastering familiar techniques. He became interested in what the instrument could become when rhythm, melody, harmony, and modern technology were combined. That curiosity eventually became the foundation for Animals as Leaders, the progressive metal project that would introduce his ideas to a much wider audience. From the beginning, the music demanded something different from both the player and the listener. Instead of relying on conventional song structures, Abasi explored complex rhythms, extended range guitars, tapping techniques, unusual chord shapes, and highly detailed arrangements. The result was technically impressive, but the deeper purpose was experimentation. He wasn't simply trying to play more notes. He was searching for new musical possibilities. But that wasn't the full story. Creating something original also meant dealing with expectations. Once audiences began recognizing Abasi as an extraordinary guitarist, every new project carried a certain expectation. It had to be different, but it still had to feel authentic. That balance is difficult for any artist. Innovation can become its own kind of pressure when people begin waiting to see what you will invent next. Abasi responded by continuing to explore the instrument itself. His work with extended-range guitars helped popularize the idea that a modern guitarist could think beyond the traditional six-string format. Additional strings weren't simply there to create lower notes. They opened new possibilities for chords, melodies, bass movement, and arrangements. What happened next changed everything. Abasi's influence began reaching musicians far beyond progressive metal. Guitarists who had never listened closely to this style started studying his techniques. Younger players discovered new approaches to rhythm and composition. The guitar became less like a single-purpose instrument and more like a complete musical system. Few people noticed what this led to. His playing also challenged a common assumption about virtuosity. Incredible technique can attract attention, but technique alone does not create a lasting musical identity. Abasi's most important contribution has been the way he combines precision with composition. The complexity serves a musical idea rather than existing simply for display. That distinction helps explain why his influence continues to grow. Modern guitarists now have access to equipment, software, extended-range instruments, and recording tools that previous generations could only imagine. Abasi represents what can happen when a musician treats those possibilities as creative tools rather than limitations. There is also a quieter lesson in his journey. Being original doesn't mean abandoning everything that came before. Abasi studied the language of guitar and then expanded it. He took familiar elements, rhythm, harmony, melody, technique, and rearranged them into something that felt new. And perhaps that is the real story behind the image of TOSIN ABASI as a guitar innovator. The remarkable sound is only the visible part. Behind it is years of curiosity, discipline, experimentation, and the willingness to remain uncomfortable while searching for a better musical idea. In the end, Abasi's legacy may not simply be about playing an extraordinarily difficult style of guitar. It may be about changing what guitarists believe the instrument is capable of becoming. His journey shows that innovation rarely arrives fully formed. It develops through questions, experiments, mistakes, discoveries, and countless hours spent refining an idea until it finally sounds natural. The most fascinating part of TOSIN ABASI's story is therefore not how many notes he can play. It is how willing he has been to question the rules surrounding the instrument itself. And sometimes, the most powerful way to change guitar history is simply to imagine that the old boundaries were never permanent.